All right, and we are here with a legend, somebody that we've been trying to get on the podcast for the last part of the 4 years. He's actually one of the first people that we've met in this venture at a San Diego Loyal Kit reveal party in Coronado. It's a combined 300 pounds less people between you and I. This person is 100% still the same person. Landon, welcome to Two Balls and a Mic, San Diego Futbol. How are you, man?
Yeah, don't diminish that fact. You guys look great, and I'm happy that you're healthier and in a great place.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. It's funny because had I done this a year ago, I was promised a Andrew Vasiliades, Ricardo Campos 1-day contract with Loyal. You know what? It's all good. It's all about the health and the numbers, but we're here now, Landon. So, all right, now head coach for San Diego Wave, interim head coach, the official title. We've been talking with you. We've been talking throughout this last crazy couple of weeks. What has this been for you on your side of the table, and how did it come together? We've heard you having a relationship with Jill Ellis, and you threw your hat in there. Just kind of after a week or so removed from literally a crazy week and a half. What's that been for you?
It's been a lot. I've been through a lot of crazy weeks in my life, but this was up there. It came together really fast. I explained that I've known Jill a long time and a lot of mutual respect between us. It was a text that she was curious if I knew any good candidates. She was just doing her due diligence, I think, as she was going through the process. And I thought about it a little bit and talked to my wife, and I said, maybe it's worth having a conversation. And so my wife agreed, and I sent Jill a message and said, what do you think? Do you want to have a conversation about it? And she said, sure. So we started the conversation, and 2 weeks later and no sleep later, I'm really mad at her for that conversation. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's been a lot. The last 2 nights, and yesterday I've slept a lot, just catching up. But I'm excited. I am really excited for the rest of the season. Make no mistake about it, we're in a tough spot with 9 games to go. But I've seen a lot of promising signs, and it's exciting. And the women have been amazing. I've really enjoyed working with them. And at the end of the day, that's what I care about most. So obviously it's a results-based business, but I'm just enjoying every minute with them so far.
And getting to know you a little bit throughout this time, like one thing I can definitely see, and it's the things that when you go to training and these aspects, going back to San Diego Loyal at the Elite Training Center, you take that extra time and extra step to whoever wants that knowledge, you're there. We saw it with CJ Fodry, we saw it with Xavi, we saw it with Duran, we saw it with anybody who was up and coming. You take that time. Is that part of what got you to get that itch again to coach?
Yeah.
What led you to that?
Well, I see this role in 3 ways. It's managing. It's managing people. It's managing players. It's managing situations. It's managing the game. Those kind of things. I'm good at that naturally. It's not always the most enjoyable because it saps a lot of time and energy. There's coaching, which is getting the team to do what you want. And that's what I was not good at when I first started this. And Nate Miller was such an expert at, and that's why we were such a good combination together. And then there's the teaching. And the teaching part is the part that really gets lost. I think at professional clubs now, men's and women's, people forget that all of these athletes still need to be taught. I learned things, honestly, Tony, at 32 years old as a player. And I wish people had taught me earlier. So that part of it I actually really love and enjoy. And if someone wants to sit around all afternoon and work and get better, I'm there for them. I want to help them do that. So there's obviously limits from a physical standpoint, so you don't wear them out. But if they want to ask questions, which a lot of the Loyal players did, and now some of the Wave players are doing, if they want to work on parts of their game, I love doing that. And there's nothing more satisfying. And I said it to our coaches, our assistant coaches the other day. I've been working with Melanie on just how to receive the ball and face forward. And we've done that a lot over the last 3 training sessions. And then she did it in the game. And I said, there's nothing more rewarding than that. And they're probably looking at me like, well, what about winning? And I love winning. I'm competitive, but that part of it, I really get a lot of joy out of.
And you mentioned Nate Miller. You mentioned just that love that you have found in this second life with soccer. What are those conversations? Who are you having those conversations with? And most importantly, you've mentioned that your family, you come from a family of teachers. We both work in after school education, so it's incredibly important to have that. You've had conversations with on a coaching aspect with Nate, with others around the world, I imagine. But what are those conversations with your family who is in teaching and it be able to implement those things where you have it here, you have it in the body. Now, how do I copy paste? Like, what are those conversations?
Well, you just learn that teaching most of all is caring about people. And so anybody, for the most part, can learn information that they can then pass on to people, right? But are you willing to spend the time and energy and have the patience to work through it with them? The other thing I learned just growing up with a twin sister is that people learn differently. So some players I show film, and by the time we go out to train, like they've got it. And other players, you show lots of film, you do it with them over and over, and they still don't get it until it finally clicks. And people learn at different rates. And so sometimes telling someone is enough, sometimes showing them is enough, sometimes showing them film, sometimes doing it in person. Sometimes you need all of it. And being able to sort of adjust from human to human and understand what they need and meet them there, I think is a skill. But I watched my mom and sister do it for many years.
No, absolutely. And then, I mean, kind of want to dive into San Diego Wave, right? You've mentioned before you have Naomi Girma coming back, you have Jaden Shaw coming back as well from the Olympics. You have the best defender in the world coming back, but now you lose Abby Dahlkemper. That news broke today. I have to ask, what was that conversation like with Abby Dahlkemper? Like, did you know about the trade already coming in?
I didn't know about it coming in, but after a couple days I did. And Abby, I just have to say, she was such a joy to work with, even though it was only 10 days. I like, some players you just really connect with, and we connected right away. She's funny, she's goofy. All the women love her, and she's just fun to be around. She has this like magnetic energy, and then she's a great pro. She's a great pro. She's a great leader, and so we're gonna miss her a ton. But at the end, we had a conversation, and she said, "I feel bad. I'm leaving. You just got here," and I said, "Abby, you want to go home, to the Bay Area." I said, "You're talking to someone who didn't play in Europe their whole career because they wanted to be near their family and be a part of something special." And so I said, Who am I to tell you not to stay or not to leave?" I did say, "Look, is there anything worth talking about to get you to stay? Because we'd love to have you." And she said, I'm already there." And I said, "Okay, I had to at least ask the question." But I'm very happy for her, and I'm excited to see her career finish in the next few years, hopefully many years. But it was great to get to know her, and we're all happy for her.
And as well, you've talked about kind of having this San Diego Wave team play similar to what Loyal used to play. Can you tell us a little bit to maybe some of our listeners that really didn't watch Loyal what exactly that would look like?
Yeah, it's hard to talk about in a few minutes and understand. I mean, the best way is for people to just go watch a game. But I think the first thing I need to, just manage expectations. It took Loyal years and years to get to the point of where we were, right? And so having continuity and having people understand it for long periods of time is why we were successful in the way we played. It's very unique to players to play this way, and it's not what they've been taught most of their life, so it does take time. But the idea is to control the game through what we call vertical possession. So, a lot of teams control the game through possession, but they don't really get anywhere. And so, if the opponent's game plan is to come after you and press, then you can be more direct. It doesn't mean you have to have 1,000 passes. You can be more direct and beat teams that way. But the idea is to control the tempo of the game, dictate the way the game gets played. So it's played on your terms, under your control. I think too many soccer games around the world are sort of a flip of the coin. You know, if your good player makes a play, you win. And if our good player makes a good play, then we win. And we don't want to play the game that way. We want to put it more on our terms. So that's the best way sort of to say it in a general capacity. Happy to dig deeper if you guys want to spend the time doing that. Okay,
do it.
I'm happy
I
to
love
spend the
this.
time doing that. But yeah, that's the sort of the general gist of it.
Yeah, and it's not an easy real transition to come into. Obviously, you're the second interim in this season, and to try to put such a spin on it in a dynamic way of thinking about it, where you almost have to unteach some aspects
Yeah.
that and some old habits that may not be bad habits. So what's that like, trying to
Yeah.
deconstruct the game for these professionals who've been doing it for a while? I mean, Kaylin Sheridan, her heat map's about to get, you know, a little crazier than it's ever been, I imagine.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I haven't done this in the middle of a year, right? And so there's so many challenges. You have in this case, it's really unique because you have people coming back from the Olympics. You have people coming back injured. You have people who are injured. Um, I'm trying to get to know them all as players, but there's, I'm looking at our list. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 11 players not in training tomorrow, for example, right? Who are part of our everyday training environment. So I don't know them yet as players. So it's almost hard to teach them and get them making progress when they're not part of training. So we show a lot of film. They probably hate me for it. They probably get bored, but just trying to show them what we want from them. Initially, it was a lot of loyal clips, and now we have clips of them doing it well or not doing it well, and that helps. So that helps their learning curve quite a bit. But doing this in the middle of the year is the challenge. I'm trying to toe the line of being pragmatic and trying to get results versus helping build something that's sustainable that will last a long time whether I'm here or not. And so that's the challenge. And probably, to be honest, guys, the other day against Angel City, it probably would have been the right time to kind of just throw some of the new stuff out the window and just say, just go compete and be what you were. And we kind of did that in the second half, and the second half was a lot better. So I might have got that wrong on the day, but I'm also trying to see the big picture and help the club progress and get better long term, as opposed to just putting a band-aid on a tumor right now.
Yeah, and you saw that with Abby Dahlkemper. We were just talking about it, right? But it looked like she just really wanted to get that effort, that leap towards the end of the game. It's a difficult position to be in, but I think that's a very good way of seeing it. That this team, and we've heard through this season, is that they're fighters and they know that they're professionals. That they have to be out there 100% of the time, know what's at stake, but at the same time, they're still human beings. And I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that, Landon, too, and then we'll get back to the tactics of it. But just the human aspect of something like this. Have you ever gone through managerial?
Oh yeah.
De que sé, sí sé, pero para la gente, o sea, managerial just discomfort or just influx.
Yeah.
What does that do to a player?
Well, it's really hard. Look, the thing about sports is there's so much out of your control. So if you think about a professional athlete, they're told when to show up every day. A lot of times, sort of what they're eating, when they're training, when they're going to the gym, when their downtime is, when they're resting. You have the opponent who's out of your control. You have the referee out of your control. You have the environment, travel. All these things are out of your control. So being able to control the things you can is very valuable. So now if you take one of the sort of stables, which is your coach that and you know what to expect, and they're gone, and now a new coach comes in, and 6 weeks later that coach is now gone, and now you have a new one. There's so much in flux, and so it makes it really difficult for them. And that's why after the game Saturday, we were all very disappointed to lose the game. But I can't look at any one of them and say they didn't try their best over the last 10 days. And I've been in those situations. It is emotionally draining It's exhausting to try to learn something new after you just had a new coach in who was there from the previous coach, plus the travel to Panama, a game, travel back from Panama. Like they went through a lot last week, emotionally, physically. They went through a lot. And so I'm really proud of the effort. If that's your starting point, you have something to work with. And their effort and attitude were phenomenal. Phenomenal. And so at least there's a good group of human beings, and that's a good starting point for any coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously it's been really hard, right? And it doesn't help having so many players out due to injury or that they're not fit, right? And you need to improvise and put Mackenzie Doniak as a CDM or a center mid and different players in different positions. How difficult is to have those conversations with the players? Obviously, they're professionals and they understand that they're going to play where you ask them to play. But how difficult is it for a player to not only have to go through all that, but also adapt to different positions?
Well, they're just adapting to everything. And I don't know them. So like we play Mac at center mid and like God bless her, like she ran so much. She did everything we asked. I mean everything. And she was exhausted. I mean exhausted. She was spent. She played 90 in Panama, traveled, came. I mean, I'm also trying to just get to know them physically. How much can they handle? But at this point, these two games, it was almost anyone who was fit could play. You know, anyone who was fit was going to play, and so we just kind of had to maneuver the pieces, and that's why I say, look, we're all disappointed in the result, but I have to look past the result and say, okay, what was the effort, and were they willing and bought in? And they were. They really were. So we can work with that, and over time, you know, we have 2 weeks in a row now where we have lots of training sessions coming up, 2 weeks in a row at home, so they can, you know, with film, we're going to learn and grow a lot in the next 2 weeks. I can't promise it's going to be perfect. I don't know if we're going to win both games or lose both games or not, but I know we're going to continue getting better, and for now that has to be the goal.
Can you share what the expectations, if any, were put on you or the team as of now? Obviously, understanding the context and circumstances for the end of the year, or is those self-imposed by saying, "Hey, I'm going to come in and we're going to go for the CONCACAF tournament. We're going to go get into playoffs."
Look, this is a club that's a big club in this league, and only 9 months removed from winning the Shield, right? So the expectations are high. We also understand the reality of the situation, and um, I want to. I'm always trying to be respectful of those who came before, but there's a lot of work to do here. Like, there's a lot of work to do here. So, to answer your question directly, I think everyone would be thrilled if we got out of our CONCACAF group and if we made the playoffs. That would be like a home run, amazing scenario. If we do one or the other, I think people would say, okay, that's pretty good considering where we were. If we don't do either, I would say that's probably disappointing. So nobody's talked to me and said this is what's expected. My conversations with Jill and Cami have been, let's start to build something that's sustainable for the long term, whether I'm here or not. And along the way, it doesn't mean we just throw away results. Like, we're still going to try to get results, no question about it. But can we do it in a way that, again, is not just putting a Band-Aid on it, but actually fixing some of the problems?
And Landon, I do want to ask, in a perfect world, right? You have all your players fit, everyone's available. The way you want to play is intact. Do you think this team can even make playoffs and even go for the championship?
Yeah, I think we can make the playoffs. We would need a lot of things to go right, and that means everybody or almost everybody fit the rest of the way. We saw with Delphine the other night that, you know, that's a player who can make a real difference in these games. We have a left back, Pearl Maroney, coming in who will definitely make a difference. We have Sav coming back, McCaskill, Jaden coming back, Naomi coming back. So there's, you know, potentially 4, 5, 6 starters that are not in the team right now. So if everyone's back and healthy, there's no reason why we can't win some games, but we probably need double the point total we have now to make the playoffs. Right now we're on 15. So in 9 games, we probably have to win 5 of them, I think, to make the playoffs. So it's going to be a tall order, but there is enough there to do it. It's just it's going to take everybody doing it well, and staying healthy.
And in that perfect world, I mean, I'm trying to think back in Loyal days, right? It eventually got switched to a 3 center back line with wing backs. Would that be the case for San Diego Wave, where they transition into that 3 center back line with wing backs, and then a CDM or something like that?
I do like playing that way. I'm just mindful, one, of personnel, and two, of not throwing too much at them too early. So right now we need to build stability. We need to build fitness a lot. We need to build intensity in the way we play a lot. And I don't want to change too much too soon. So as we, sort of clear the next hurdle, we get a lot fitter. We've watched a lot more film. We understand our basic principles and how we want to play. Then we can start to adjust a little bit here and there. But again, those things took lots and lots of time at Loyal, and we were always hesitant, even when we had the group together from January till August. We were hesitant to make any subtle changes because little changes might help one person but might affect someone else negatively. So you have to be really smart about that. So for now, stability while improving, I think, is the motto.
And again, any improvement from what we've generally seen from this season is definitely welcome for a team that has had difficulties on and off the field, and it's just been a very difficult year for San Diego Wave, where on paper, and I know, did you keep up with the team? Obviously
Course.
before this, is this something that you've been
Yeah.
familiar with? And okay, so this team is something that was bound and supposedly touted as championship material already. They've made back-to-back semifinals. They're this world beater of a team.
Won the Shield.
And coming into it, why do you think why do you think that this shift has happened? Is it just a matter of performance? Is it everything put together, an amalgam of circumstances that lead to this? Because again, we've seen other teams in the past have this dream team or great team on paper, but then it's just not necessarily performing. Is it just one thing, couple things that you've noticed throughout this year?
So I'm hesitant to comment on things when I don't have the full context, right? So I wasn't, if I was in training every day from January till now, I would say, okay, here's where the issues are. I wasn't, right? So I can't speak, entirely or even partially to that. I do know, it is a team that won the Shield last year. But I walked through the hallway, and Alex was there the other day, and there was a picture of the team. And I said, how many of those women are gone now? And she counted out 11 of them are gone. I think she said 11. So it is in some ways the same team, but there's been a lot of change too. There's been a lot of turnover in the roster in that way. So there are a lot of new faces. And then when you combine that with having one coach and then another coach and now a third coach, it does make it tricky. And anything I've learned from Loyal is there may be good players on a roster, but if they don't fit what the coach is trying to do, then they're not as good a player. And we would always say you need the right player with the right coach in the right place at the right time of their career, the club's career, et cetera. And so you have to work hard to identify that and find that and then get those players. Nick Moon was a great example at Loyal. We worked so hard to get him for so many years because we knew he was the type of guy that could change everything, and he was. And so now working in the women's game, if I'm going to be here long term, that's something that I would want to work closely with Cami with, is getting those right profiles in so that we can play in a certain way. It's challenging right now as someone who's here, at least for now, short term, to have a big change in that way.
Do you see yourself staying in the women's game long term?
A month ago, I would have said no. Now, I don't know. I have really, really enjoyed it. And maybe I just got lucky with just a great group of human beings. Or maybe it's just me being the right person at the right place and the right time and the right side of the sport. And so I'm loving it. Every job is an interim job in the world, right? You can be fired at any point, or you could leave at any point, right? So every job's an interim job in that way, but I'm trying to show up and be my best every day. And I'm really loving it. My wife notices it when I come home. She's like, "You're so happy to come home." She hasn't seen me this joyous, I think, since we met, to be honest.
Wow.
And so it's really impacted my life in a positive way, and I'm trying to reciprocate that every day.
And that you can, again, spending some time with you on the field, you can definitely tell on the coaching. I saw the training that you had the other day, and again, you seem revitalized. Again, that different aspect of the sport is really kind of getting to you in a way that's very positive. But there are differences, and this is something that we have battled in getting to know the women's game, because admittedly, I had never really been very much involved in the women's game, and I was unfamiliar with it. Getting to know it and knowing soccer, I can pinpoint, okay, this player plays like this player plays like this is the archetype of player that we have here, and go from there. Has that been your experience? Because there's a lot of talk out there of like, well, what does Landon know about the NWSL? What does Landon know about this? What does At the end of the day, it's the sport. It's Futbol. Es lo que es. Is that how you've been taking it and learning from this?
It is. And look, there are differences. There are different. Between my daughter and my son, there are differences. And I'm generalizing here, right? Because humans are humans, and some women are have more masculine tendencies, quote unquote, and some men have more feminine tendencies. And so, as a generalization, though, there are differences, right? And so there there are things that I'm learning as I go, but I am honestly mostly I'm just enjoying it. It's just been fun to get to know them. They're really easy to work with every day. They pay attention, they're engaged, they want to learn. I think one thing I'm learning about the women's side is that, with all due respect to youth coaches and that kind of stuff, they just haven't learned the game at a high level tactically, and so trying to help educate them in that way has really been enjoyable. And then what I've learned is that they pick it up, at least in my experiences, they've picked it up faster than the men I've worked with. And so it's kind of a shame that they haven't learned at a younger age, but it's also an opportunity to give them clarity, information that they weren't used to, and show them that you can actually play this way and it's actually enjoyable. And so that's been a really, really fun part for me.
You mentioned it right there, right? It's different, but it's still at the same time, it's fundamentally similar. And I mean, when you were growing up, Landon, there was kids around you who don't know how to even look at a ball. The development of soccer around the world has been that now somebody who's 8 years old would have pulled maneuvers, moved, has a mentality of a veteran, and that's the same thing as we're learning the game. Is that type of growth? It's exponential. We see somebody like Jaden Shaw come in and just destroy the league because there's just that slight edge that she has. And I mean, I don't know what it particularly is, but I think you hit it on the nail right there. It needs to be addressed at the youth level. And is that something that you see just on one side? Because again, I will, to throw a name out there, ¿sabes qué? There was a German fellow who took care of the US for a little bit. I'm pretty sure you know about this, Landon. Pero él empezó con academias. He had the academic mentality, and this is why the US has flourished in a team setting, because of the growth of the young players in this nation. So I think that's what's happening with the women's game as well. And you're seeing Melanie Barcenas, you're seeing these younger players be incredible tacticians and technicians at the same time. Is that just what you experienced too from seeing it? Because right now,
Yeah.
a 15-year-old nos baila a todos.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the evolution of the sport in our country, which is great to see. However, we're still a ways behind other countries, certainly on the men's side. And you can make the case now that the rest of the world is caught up to the women. So it's any way you slice it, you have to be developing world-class players. And that's what the countries who compete for World Cups develop: world-class players, men and women. And we've struggled, certainly on the men's side, still to do that. I was at the Euros 2 months ago commentating, and I found myself asking how many American players would get into some of these teams. And most of the time it was like a few, but it wouldn't be every player. And if you look at some of the teams, France, Spain, you'd say, okay, maybe just one or two get into this team, right? And so they're just developing high volume of high quality players. And we still have to get there. And that all starts with coaching. I mean, at youth coaching, that's all it comes down to.
And you see yourself in this path of coaching. Do you see this just continuing wherever this journey may lead to? I know I can tell you're also enjoying commentating and watching that aspect, but do you see yourself coming back to coaching, even if this is the interim? Next season, something comes up, this is something you'll take, or even long term?
I don't know yet. I do what I love. And right now I am absolutely loving this. And of everything I've tried over the last decade since retiring, the commentating's enjoyable, but it's not a great passion. It's not crazy rewarding for me. Coaching is. And so it's hard for me to imagine that I won't keep coming back to coaching. And the beauty of this is now that I've tried it, I'm loving it. I'm loving being around the women and helping them grow. And it's right here in my backyard. So it's been a perfect fit for me. Hi, baby.
I mean,
Hello.
you're a family man through and through, Landon, and honestly, like as much as we love,
Came to save him.
yeah, no, 100%, right on time. Come in, if I push the button, he'll walk in there. But no, I mean, this is really something that is something that you didn't know, I think, and of yourself. We actually talked with Jimmy Conrad about 2 years ago, and we keep in contact with him, and he to our face said, "I never thought I'd see Landon coaching, ever. I never thought he'd be the person." And was that true? Is that something that you just kind of distanced?
Yeah.
You weren't that person, or you just kind of fell
No,
into it?
I wouldn't have either, to be honest. And I actually thought I would never ever want to. Um, the men with Loyal were really fun, but took a long time and a lot of work to connect with them. I think in that way, were just, in my experience, were just less trusting. So it took a lot of time for them to believe what I was saying and that I actually did care about them as human beings. And once that sort of trust was gained, it was amazing. But what I've learned quickly with the women now with the wave is the trust has been there from day one. And I feel like now with the men, I had to keep earning it every day, earning it, and it finally got there. With the women, it's there, but now you have to maintain it, right? And you can't break that trust. And so that's in everything you do, from training, tactics, how you are every day around them, how you treat them. All those things you have to stay true to that or you lose it fast. So because of that, it's just been a really easy transition, really easy. And I think if I had come into Loyal mid-season, that transition would have been way more difficult because of that sort of lack of immediate trust.
And that's huge, right? Like these are stark differences, but very minute, where you have to be in tune with it, because it's the minutia of that relationship building. Because again, if you don't want to be there and I don't want to be teaching you, it's just never going to work. And I think it's in a good place
That's
where
right.
San Diego Wave is, with that. And I mean, who would have thought, right? This last weekend was your first time head coaching a team in Mission Valley territory, where
It's ridiculous. I know.
back in the day, like, you had those hopes and dreams, and eventually, in a very bizarre way, it kind of happened. I heard you with Craig a little bit on Friday, just kind of what's that post match, and having gone through it, like, was that weird? Was that
Well,
enjoyable? What was it like?
well, the whole week has kind of been like a fog, right? And I don't know. I know the league from watching, but when you're up close and you see the games, you see things different. And so that was unique, to see them up close and see how teams function and operate. Being in the stadium was awesome. It's a beautiful stadium, and it was really fun to be there. But now I want more, and I want more where we've trained well, our team's improving. I'm more comfortable with everything. It's less of a fog, and so it gave us a little taste of it, but now I want more.
I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
too.
I just want to ask too as well, right? Going back to the players and obviously the leadership in the team. You lost Abby Dahlkemper. Is this a conversation you had with Alex Morgan as well? As like, hey, you know what? We lost a leader. We're gonna kind of need you to step up a little bit again, just to give that
Well,
confidence in the team.
yeah, I mean, the good thing is Naomi's coming back, right? And she was gone these 10 days. So she'll have her first training session tomorrow. Abby, I don't need to tell any, or Alex, I don't need to tell anything. She's been phenomenal. Like, she's been a really, really good leader, and it's been a really hard year for her. And most people worry about themselves when times are hard like that. And she's just been externally um, motivated and aware, and she's been awesome to be around. So I don't need to tell her anything. She's a great leader, and she's been phenomenal for the group. So we need more of that. You know, we need others now to step up too. But Alex has been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you did get some help with Cascarino coming in, and man, I think that's what you're talking about, right? Like it's that one moment where you see somebody play like her, and she takes an extra second. The patience that she had in those 2-3 chances that she had is something that's different, a different pace, a different way of seeing the ball. Like defenders were getting disposed of. Unlucky with what happened. A great save at the end in the second half, but this is painting to be a great comeback potentially, and I think that's how you and your team are looking at it. And I think the players, like you're saying, believe that as well.
I hope so. And as Bruce Arena always used to say, you're a much better coach when you have better players on the field. And so, you know, I can get a lot of things right, but special players making special plays change games, and that's been true from the beginning of time till the end of time. It's why, you know, anybody could coach Messi and seem like a world class coach, right? Because he can just change the game on his own. So Delphine's been great so far. Excited to get a few of the others back, to give ourselves a real chance now to make the playoffs.
And you know, always had a good relationship with the team, with Loyal, the way it was built with the fan base. Has there been any fan base reaction that you've seen, that you've noticed? I mean, it's a different vibe. The Sirens over in the Cove, just, you know, always being supportive. Any message to the fan base that may be listening and say, hey, like, you know, why should we trust you? You say the players trust you, great, but why should we?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we're having a town hall tomorrow night that I'm going to, so people can ask questions. I encourage people to ask difficult questions. It's okay. I'm sure there are people who are skeptical, thinking, "Why the hell would you want to do this? What are the reasons? What's the real motivation?" I'm happy to answer all of that. I don't do anything just to do it. I never have. I'm not. I don't take a job just to take it. I've been offered other jobs that some people would think were, quote, better jobs or greater jobs. I was offered to play in places in my career that were better or better competition, but I do what I think brings me joy. I'm passionate about, and I like to be around good people. That's my number one thing. I don't have to do this. I'm very fortunate. I've had a really, really fortunate life, but I want to, and I'm choosing to do this because I want to do it for the right reasons. So I hope people give me that grace and give me the chance. I know I have to prove it. I'm not expecting people to just believe it or trust it, but at least be open minded and give me a chance, and know that my intentions are very, very pure.
Now,
I'm curious. Did Nate Miller reach out to you at all? It's like, hey, back in the coaching gig.
No, I reached out to him. I said,
That's awesome.
we talk all the time, and I said, would you ever be interested in joining me? And he said, well, I'm really happy right now in Salt Lake, so it'd be hard for me to even consider that right now. And I said, Nate, just let it go. I'm just asking the question, and maybe down the line, and we'll see where it goes. But he's doing great in Salt Lake. I'm really happy for him, and I know one day we'll be reunited, and whenever that is, wherever that is, it'll be awesome.
Yeah, somewhere Coque Vegas is licking his chops.
I mean,
like, yes, let it happen again.
They're strong in MLS right now.
Yeah, they're doing great. They're doing great.
As you mentioned, Landon, as we wind it down here, again, thank you once again for your time. And This is something that is very true, and I can speak out of personal experience with this. Is that you do things because you love to do them, and there's a genuine care for that. I have every sporting reason to not like you, Landon. Every single one. And it was incredibly disarming.
Yeah.
It was incredibly disarming just getting to know you as a person. It's almost like the game, right? You say, just go and you'll see and you'll understand, like in person. And it's very much like that. So I, as a San Diegan, appreciate the love that you've poured into this city, especially in the soccer sense, because it's meant a lot. And none of this would be happening without you and the efforts of your associates and everybody who, just shook this city up. And it's part of the greater thing. Are you also aware that Maria Sanchez is also in that same boat? Because she said in the post.
What'd she say? I didn't hear it.
So she was asked like, hey, what's it like to get coached by Landon? And
the question was more of like, hey, like you grew up idolizing Alex Morgan. Was it kind of the same with Landon Donovan? And he said, well, no, I supported the men's Mexican national team, and Landon was our enemy.
Kind of a villain.
Okay.
But
I can't wait to see her tomorrow.
We got her in
That's
trouble.
good.
Extra
That's good.
5 extra kilometers on that. Extra drill. But Landon, I really once again appreciate your time, and as you continue through San Diego Wave and all this, I'd love to just extend this open invitation to come in and have a safe space to talk soccer, because again, this is something that I know that you love to do, is X's and O's, because PR stuff is great. I will say you are the most media trained person that we know.
For sure.
It's not training. I'm used to. I've done it my whole life, and if you're just genuine, then it comes across as being trained, but it's not.
You just
being honest.
Just a cool California kid, make from the redwoods, making it look easy.
Red lens. Come on, Tom.
So, hey, it's North Cal again. So many every reason. But you know what? You're here in San Diego, and I really appreciate it. We'll talk to you. Stick around here. We'll just do a little wrap up.